Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's Misfits Racing League Action Tier 1, Round 10. It's the French Grand Prix. We are in Le Castellet, France. We go around Paul Ricard. Joining me as always, it's Mikcow. How you doing, Mick?
G'day everybody. I'm doing well, Strifium. I hope you all enjoyed that Tier 2 race previous. It was a thrilling race. And I'm sure that our Tier 1 guys, just like the weeks gone by, are going to provide us with something special here this evening. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, big time, and we're going to get that roll of the dice for the wet weather that I've been wanting to see all season. But there you have the circuit on screen. Of course, the very long DRS straight of Sector 2, just heading into that 8-9 chicane, coming down through that sweeping right-hander of turn 10 into that very slow, gradual, long right-hander. And we'll go through that circuit with you once we get into qualifying, of course. But before we do that, let's talk about this season so far. We've gone through, of course, Australia, Bahrain, Vietnam, as well as China, the Netherlands, Spain, Monaco, Azerbaijan, and then most recently we were in Canada. Now, of course, we have the French Grand Prix today. Next week we have the Austrian Grand Prix, and I am extremely excited to see Austria, but not as excited as I am to see how the Tier 1 drivers can perhaps outdo that fantastic Tier 2 race. And real quick, before we jump into that, big shout out to Mr. Raggy. Thank you very much for the host, sir. Welcome to the Rag Nation. Tuning into Misfits Racing League Tier 1. We're just about to get things going for qualifying here, so you made it just in time. Of course, looking at the second half of this season's calendar, we're going to be moving through into the British Grand Prix, as well as Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, as well as Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. We go to Texas for the US Grand Prix, Mexico, Brazil, and we wrap things up in Abu Dhabi. We have a very fast grid on day. A lot of people you may be familiar with, some idiot Brownie on the grid as well today in reserve capacity, as we've seen them before here for the Misfits. We have Brainstew and Becky B for Mercedes. That's Alex Biddo and Hyper for Ferrari, with Zamis and Swifty over at Red Bull. It's Yoda and Rackety for McLaren, with Van Putten and BTFU over at Renault. Shenjay and Freeware for AlphaTauri, with Fubar and Neon Rays over at Racing Point. That's Nigel and John for Alfa Romeo, with Henners and Astrodite over at Haas, King, and Custom rounding out this grid for the Williams team. Take a look at the standings now. Yoda has been on a absolute tear, and I think he's looking to get a little bit more points today, Mikcow. He's been talking about France all week, and here we have him leading the championship, 108 points, like the Jedi Master he is. Shenjay there in second position, 104 points, and then Van Putten a little bit further down the way with 72 points, and that's your top three right now. Of course, it's an AlphaTauri-led championship, but who knows how long they'll be able to hold out. The Mercedes and the McLarens are looking quite good, especially with that total for Yoda. Or Steward's report, multiple position changes following the post-race Steward report. So with that being said, keep it clean, guys. Keep it clean, and we're just about ready to jump in to some racing action here.
Yeah, Paul Ricard definitely lends itself more to some tight racing. You don't have the walls like at Monaco, Baku, and Canada. So I'm sure the openness of this circuit is going to be a welcome change for these drivers this evening. We saw a whole lot of battling in Tier 2, and considering how close the Tier 1 grid has been, throughout this entire season, I'm expecting some really good fights here. And it looks like, at least for qualifying, it's clear skies. So we're going to be seeing these drivers go as fast as they can.
Now, another driver to talk about here on the grid today, Zamis in the Red Bull. He came second in the Endurance Series. It was a very good drive from him, but of course, we always hear him talk about how much he loves this circuit, so this is, technically speaking, his favorite circuit. We'll have to see how he goes here in qualifying in that Red Bull. Of course, 19 drivers on the grid presently here in the qualifying session. We have Becky B there in the Mercedes, Van Putten, Neon Rays, BTFU, Swifty, Yoda, Zamis, Rackety, Hyper, Custom, Freeware, as well as Nigel, Henry, Jean, Fubar, Astrodite, Brownie, Shenjay, Alex Biddo, the Spaniard, and of course the Italian, that's Brainstew in the race, of course, as well, who just came in mid-session. Hopefully that doesn't set him back in a qualifying the way we've seen that issue strike some of the league races so far?
Well, I've just gotten the weather report from Little Tweety Bird, and they have said that unfortunately for you, Striff, there are going to be no weather shenanigans in this event.
Way to let me down easy.
Yeah, I mean, there's still another opportunity tomorrow, but at least for this one, we are going to be seeing clear skies. So these drivers will be going flat out for the entire duration of this event, which will still be a spectacle to watch, I'm pretty sure.
Nigel in the Alfa Romeo going to be the first driver out of the pit lane. He wants that camera time, Mikcow. He'll be the first driver to set a lap here, and he's been having a very good season. Pretty well. It could be better considering where Yoda is currently on this driver's standings, but Nigel, of course, very quick. And we'll see what he's able to do here around Le Castellet.
Yeah, Nigel's a driver that you certainly see up towards the pointy end of the grid a fair few times, to say the least. He does have a couple of race wins under his belt as well, so he is capable of winning races. But let's see what he's able to do around the Paul Ricard circuit. Speaking about the circuit itself, the tires do not like it. They do not like it one bit. That front left goes under a lot of stress, a lot of load, and the tires wear out very, very quickly here. So interesting to see what strategies everyone opts to go. We're going to run on board with Nigel as he starts the first flying lap of the session. Turn 1 and 2, very, very hard to stay within the limits. You have to use all of the curbs on both of the apexes to just maximize that speed through that chicane. Up the gears into 8th gear, then down a few into 5th for turn 3, and then you flick the car towards the left for turn 4. Turn 5, another sharp right-hander, then turn 6 and 7. It's all about the exit before you go down the Mistral straight. I hope I said that correctly. The long back straight, the DRS wing wide open as you're in 8th gear, approaching nearly 330 kilometers an hour. Hard on the brakes just after the 100-meter board for turns number 8 and 9. The chicane that breaks the otherwise incredibly long back straight. But then we're on the power once again, heading towards the flat-out right of turn 10. Absolutely thrilling corner to see these cars go. Apex speed at about 310 kilometers an hour. And then the double apex right of turn 11. Very, very hard to hit both of those apexes and carry the speed. Turn 12, another very deceptively hard corner. Late apex, uphill off camber. Careful not to touch the inside curbing there to lose the car. 13 completely flat into 14, where we flip the car towards the left, and then the final corner, turn 15, a very, very slow hairpin-like right-hander, DRS open. And then you just have to wait until that timing line, and that will be the first lap with a 1 minute 28.1 for Nigel. So very, very solid opening lap, but I'm sure we'll see those times start to fall as the track starts to rubber in Strifium.
Oh, Henrys and Van Putten getting runs in on medium compound tires. Henry was second across, but he's now third on the list. Van Putten there into second position, a 129.3 on the mediums. Yoda.
Yeah, some quick times coming in. Hyper now coming across the line with a 28.6, 6.3, and Becky B in the Mercedes coming across with a 128.64. So we're already seeing some very, very close times. Yoda now into the provisional pole position with a 1 minute 27.8. So he's outdoing Freeware, who comes across the line to slot into that P2 slot as well, Strip.
Jumping on with BTFU now, the other Renault. He's on the soft compound tires, so that squad having a little bit of a difference in strategy for their their qualifying runs, excuse me. BTFU coming through sector 3 now. Touching through turns 14, now coming through into 15. And the final turn here around Paul Ricard.
He misses that apex a little bit. Doesn't look like it's cost him a whole lot, but certainly some time left on the board, and he's backed out of it. So obviously just trying to get a feel for the circuit. He will beat Hennes though. 1 minute 29.4. And he'll slot in right behind his teammate, only 300ths in it. Some kind of talent for those two.
Another driver though, Mikcow, coming through out of turn 6. He's coming through into 7 now. It's the Racing Point. It's the man who's no stranger to the camera. In any case, it's Fubar, the German, in 16th on the tower right now. He's on the soft compound tires. He's flying down through into turn 8.
Yep, turned in a little bit too late there, missing the apex of turn 8, so that's definitely cost him about half a tenth or a tenth or so. Not a whole lot of time, but nevertheless, it's time that has been lost. But through the flat-out right-hander of turn 10 into the start of Sector 3, gonna see what he's able to do. Fubar, a driver who has had pretty rotten luck this season, I'm not gonna lie. We'll see if he's able to turn it around, maybe get some points on the board for the Pink Panthers. But through 13 and 14 now, it seems like a pretty tidy lap. Not the fastest we've seen this session so far, but it certainly isn't a horrible lap. DRS open as he makes his way towards the start-finish line. What will it be for the Racing Point? It will be a 1 minute 29.279 for the German. So that's good enough for P9 at the moment.
Neatly done, neatly done. Not a lot of other drivers currently out on flyers right now, Mikcow.
No, sad to say that. We do have a few drivers out on outlaps though. Have Custom making his way through turns 10 and 11 right now on those yellow striped medium compound tires. And Swifty right behind him as well on those softs. So just over 10.5 minutes remaining in the session. Currently provisional pole is a 1 minute 27.8 held by the Albanian Yoda, driving for the McLaren squad. We're currently lining up next to him, only a tenth behind, and then 2 tenths behind him we have Nigel in the Alfa Romeo.
Custom coming through turn 1 and 2, taking a little bit too much of that exit curb coming out of 2, but he keeps it valid regardless, coming down through into turn 3, taking that inside curb, trying to get it again through 4, getting a great portion of it coming down through 5, now through 6, and then up through the gears, and this is where you really start to hammer down. He doesn't take a lot of that inside curb account. He runs wide and he invalidates.
Yeah, just trying to, keep the car as straight as possible, use this little steering angle to keep the speed. But you need to keep it on the track as well, and unfortunately Custom was unable to do that on this occasion. So not to worry. He's still got plenty of time. About 9 minutes left in the session for us, at least. There is, of course, that clock desync that we are so happy exists. Hashtag sarcasm. But no, it's not the end of the world.
Well, front of this grid right now looking quite good, Mikcow. Look at the gaps to leader. From first down through
tight.
5th, 7 tenths, and it's 3 tenths to 4th Zamis there right now, within 3 tenths of Yoda. They all qualified on those soft compound tires. Zamis and Yoda both love it around this circuit, so we'll have to see how they do battle around Paul Ricard.
Yeah, there's still a 3 and a bit tenth gap between them. So not too far away. But it certainly is a larger gap than we've seen across this grid, Strif. This grid is so competitive. I'm really curious to see how the tyre strategies play into order, because since it is a completely dry race, for those of you unaware, the top 10 will need to start on the same set of tyres they did their qualifying times on. And like I was saying in the pre-show, this track does not take the tyres lightly, so we might be seeing a 2-stop out of most of these soft runners, and it certainly isn't the optimal strategy given that the pit lane is almost 30 seconds long, so a lot of time spent in that pit lane going 60 kilometers an hour. But if these guys have the pace to do it and they want that track position, the softs is the way to go. Henna's coming across the line will improve into P8, just ahead of his teammate with a 29 flat, as we have more cars out on the circuit now than we did have a couple minutes ago, Striff.
Yeah, one driver to talk about that just began a flying lap is the AlphaTauri of Shenjie. And he's just absolutely ran it wide coming out of turn 2, Mikcow. So he's going to have to go around again. With no lap set here in this session, his teammate Freeware, however, on the front row as it stands. P2, a 127.979. He is literally 6 milliseconds off of Yoda. Oh, no, you see, now my eyes are deceiving me. Never mind.
I'm not sure about that one, Striff, but someone who's exactly 3/10 ahead of Yoda now is the Ferrari of Alex Bitto with a 1 minute 27.593. So not too shabby from the Scuderia. It looks like Yoda's one-upped him on that one. It's a 27.3 for the McLaren now. So he has retaken that provisional pole position, and he has extended that gap back to Freeway and Nigel and the others by quite a hefty margin at that.
Things are definitely getting faster, and a lot of drivers that could be up in the front right now have not set times. Brownie currently in the pit lane. Shenjie, no time set just yet from him. Brain Stew, I think he can improve on that. We saw BTFU with a big lift off at the end of his lap. He's flying right now, coming down through turn 11.
We'll see what he wants to do. I don't know if he's committed to starting on the medium compound tires. There's been a lot of talk in the Discord recently about the strategy here, and there seems to be quite a bit of confusion. I know from my personal experience, the softs barely last 4 laps, but have seen drivers in the past, in the previous races actually, get some good life out of those softs. So maybe it's just me, I don't know, but these drivers certainly know more about what their strategy is than what I do. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Swifty jumped into P5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he is in P5 at the moment. Currently only a 10th off his teammate, so the two Red Bulls are very, very close together. And Freeware as well is on an outlap at the moment. But we are in that lull sort of period where everyone's just trying to let that track rubber in just a tiny bit more.
Yeah, most definitely. Emerson on an
Well, I find
invalidated lap.
interesting.
I think he might be coming into the pit lane. He is. So 4.5 minutes left, Mikcow.
Yeah, what I find interesting is that Freeware on his next flying run, as he begins that heading through turns 1 and 2, he's on the yellow stripe medium tires. Now, if he's able to beat a 27.9 on mediums, I will be thoroughly, thoroughly impressed. It's not impossible, but will require a lot of pace.
Not too far off of it right now. 3 milliseconds of the difference.
Yeah, it's really going to be in that sector 3 though, Striff. That's the sector where you really need all the lateral grip you can get. Heading into the chicane, and he cuts it, so never mind.
Yeah, that was a major cut down through 8 there. So not going to be able to improve on this run. Hyper on an invalidated lap, and it doesn't look like there's too many other drivers about to begin.
We are in the calm before the storm, Striff.
That's right. Of course, if you
That's
guys are just if you're just tuning in, you're here for Tier 1 Misfits Racing League action. Of course, it's round 10. It's the French Grand Prix. And tell a friend, share the stream, get your friends and the family in here for some Formula 1 racing, because this is going to be a fun one, I think. The gaps are quite tight throughout this grid right now. And DRS can play a role through Sector 2 100%. And we've seen a lot of overtaking. We saw a very good Tier 2 race. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It really, really is. I'm super excited. I'm just seeing this grid with all the times that I'm salivating right now. All these close gaps. You know, all within that sort of 1 second range. You know, 1 second separating the top 8 at the moment, just about. So, and Yoda's time is actually very, very quick. I'm not sure if anyone's going to really be able to beat that, but They're certainly willing to try. Alex Bitto starting a flying lap on the mediums. Let's see what he's able to do. Just keep an eye on him. Lots of cars now actually going out for their final runs, which is good to see. Gives us something to talk about.
Rackety's just begun as well, so we'll have to check back in with him. But of course, the
Oh,
Ferrari.
he's just ended actually. Rackety, sorry to cut you off there, Striff, but Rackety's just ended his flying lap. 1 minute 29.25, so he's 200ths ahead of Fubar in 13th. See if Fubar has a response soon enough.
Could have sworn he was on an outlet, but my mistake. Alex coming down into 8-9.
It takes a lot of that curb. It looks pretty quick.
He's flying for
Is he
pole
up
here.
on a 27.5 though? That's the real question. Is he up on that time? He is a tenth down. Heading into sector 3, so I don't know if he's going to be able to beat it. We'll have to wait and see. It looks very tidy so far. Oh, he gets a bit squirrely on the exit curb though. That's going to be really bad. He actually invalidates from going wide after that little twitch. So even if he was wanting to improve and start on those mediums, he has no choice now.
Yeah, I hate to see it. That was a very good lap that he was on there. As we look to see who else is flying. Fubar's invalidated.
Astrodite. I believe Astrodite is currently on a flying lap, heading through turn 10 at the moment. And into double right of turn 11. You just feel the downforce when you're in the cockpit of that car through turn 11. It's absolutely incredible. You just let the downforce do all the work. Through 12 and 13. It seems like a pretty quick lap so far, Striff. I don't know if he was up on his time or not. But it certainly seems very tidy. Is it going to be good enough to slingshot him up maybe towards that top 6, top 5 area? We'll wait and see. And no, it is not.
He was a millisecond down.
We'll talk about consistency.
Well, at least we know where his pace stands. Fast.
As fast as the checkered flag has dropped. No, Brainstew is the only one who has received the checkered flag. Brownie now has come across the line. He'll be in P11. The 1 minute 28.8 on those medium tires. So honestly not where I expected him to be. So he'll have some work to do during the race, I'm sure, but he'll certainly make it exciting for us.
Neon Rays is about to take the flag as well, Mikcow, and he's finishing his only lap of the session here that I think is going to be valid. Here we go in the racing point. From 19th to where? P10. Nicely done. A 128.714.
It's a very, very solid lap time. Also, Chenje's been disqualified. I don't know when that happened, but he will be starting last. Championship leader starting last in this one. So that'll be interesting. Becky B retires the car in the pits. He'll stay with his 1 minute 28.4.
Hate to break it to you,
Currently
Mikcow.
good enough for P7.
Championship runner-up. Yoda passed him. So he's not going to be happy that his rival in the championship, who has overtaken him for lead, is currently on pole position with him at the back of this grid in Chenje.
That's right, Yoda, the king of consistency at the moment. My mistake. After the pretty abysmal performance from the AlphaTauris last time out in Canada, looking to redeem themselves, and Freeware's pulled up his end of the bargain, but Chenje seems to have other plans. Not quite sure how he got disqualified, but as the session now draws to a close, we're going to see what everyone is able to do as they come across the line to finish their final flying laps. I believe it's just the 2 Ferraris left to complete their laps.
Piper coming around turn 15 now, the final turn here around Paul Ricard. DRS wide open on the rear. He's going to cross the line. What's the time going to be? An improvement. And it's P9 for him at the flag.
Yeah. It's an improvement, but it's not quite enough to jump Brainstew. Only 200 between them. I just believe it's Alex Bitto who was able to start a lap after the timer had expired. So, see what he's able to do.
Well, he's up coming through into Sector 3, nearly a 10th. 0.06 of a
He needs
second.
to find a bit more than a 10th. He needs to find a bit more than a 10th if he wants to dethrone Yoda. Takes a lot of that second apex curb at turn 11. Turn 12 now as he makes his way through sector 3, 13 now. Into 14, flip the car to the left, use the downforce, able to just hit that apex, takes a lot of curb at the final corner. Then on the gas, what is the time going to be? Is it going to be enough? It's an improvement of a 10th, but it's not enough, so Yoda will take pole position ahead of this one.
Wow, what a qualifying session that was.
Very, very close times. But it is the Albanian on pole position with a 1 minute 27.362. Alex Bitto will line up alongside him in that Ferrari with a 27.4. And Zamis with what I do believe is his best qualifying of the season so far in third with a 27.7. Freeware in lining up alongside him in the second row, the 27.8. Swifty in the other Red Bull in P5. Nigel in sixth. Becky B and Brainstew, the two Mercedes cars in 7th and 8th. Hyper in 9th, and Neon Rays will round out your top 10.
Really tight quality here, and the DRS is going to amplify that 100% here in this race. Shenjay coming from the back of this grid is going to be a very unique dynamic here in this race. Of course, if you're just tuning in, my name is Strifium. Joining me all the way from Australia, it's Mikcow, and we are happy to have you here for Misfits Racing League Tier 1. It's the French Grand Prix round 10, and well, we're going to have a clear race here, but I am extremely excited for this one because this grid is, as we've seen all season, if you make one mistake, Mikcow, just the slightest, wiggle of the car, you're losing positions. If you have a big spin, you're to the back of the grid. So there's a lot of pressure. This entire grid's a pressure cooker, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch, and I've heard from some of the drivers it's a lot of fun to drive as well. Having such a competitive grid, you're always pushing. You're always trying to get that extra 10%, that extra 10th, as if you will, that you need to just get a one-up on your nearest rivals. And there's always someone to fight, it seems.
Always someone to fight in this grid.
As we just get set up here, we'll talk about tires just for a little bit. So it looks like the top 9 are all starting on those softs, with Astrodite in 10th starting on those mediums, Brownie in 11th on the hards, along with Henners, BTFU, and Chenjay in 11th, 13th, 17th, and 19th, respectively. All the rest of the back 10 on the medium compound tires, and of course, the top 9 on those softs that they did their best qualifying times on.
It's going to be really interesting to see how these tire strategies play out, if there's a safety car in the equation as well.
Yes, that is very, very true. A safety car early on can really, really change the strategy in this race. And we saw it in Tier 2 that safety car worked absolutely perfectly for those guys starting on the mediums. Domi, the one able to capitalize the most off that, able to get out ahead of both Kai Bacchini and Maxim, who were fighting for the lead of the race at the start. That was Tier 2. It's now Tier 1 time. And these guys are just completing their formation lap now, getting a last fill for the circuit, and then we'll be lights out and away for 27 laps here in Le Castellet, the circuit Paul Ricard here in France.
It's going to be one heck of a drive, and Yoda's at the forefront of this one with Alex Bitto, the Spaniard, right behind him, and Zamis in a very prime position. He's in third position on this grid. It's his favorite circuit. Of course, the Misfits founder, the man, is going to be looking for positions from these guys. And Yoda, he took the win in the Endurance Series. He's going to be looking for a win here. Alex Bitto wants to get as many points as he can as well. And Zamus just wants to have one heck of a drive around his favorite circuit as well. He took P2 in the Endurance Series. A lot of really, really impressive drivers on this grid right now. I'm super excited for this one. It's going to be all of these drivers getting to the grid now. Shenjay and Brainstew, that final row. The lights are coming on here. The engines are revving, and man, is it looking good here for a race around Le Castellet. It's the French Grand Prix. It's Paul Ricard. The engines, once again, full throttle for all of these guys, getting those revs high. The McLaren is away. We are racing here in France, and it's going to be a fantastic start.
What an absolutely killer start from Alex Bitter. They're side by side with Yoda heading into turns 1 and 2. They're still side by side. Yoda struggling to get the traction that he needs off the start. There's been a little bit of an incident behind. That's Jean and Rackety having a little bit of an exchange there as well. Brainstew making up quite a few positions, but for the top 3, it's Alex Bitter ahead of Yoda. Then Zamus holding position in the 3rd place. Freeware in 4th. Swifty in 5th. Nigel and Becky B going side by side through turn 6. And let's see what they're able to. They're still side by side. They are Hyper having a beautiful angle at this, and Becky is through on Nigel into 6th for the time being, but Nigel with that slipstream is going to be looking for a move back. And Hyper is getting on this action as well. He's picking up the slipstream from Becky B. And he's side by side with Nigel heading into the chicane. But he's unable to make that move stick for now. Heading down, now going down further on this grid, we have Remco Van Poonen in 11th. He's eyeing up Brownie. Brownie able to make his way up into that 10th position. After Neon Ray's struggling to get off the line. He's
Hyper
down into 12th on those soft
on the
compound
inside.
tires. Hyper.
He's going wheel to wheel with Nigel right now, and there's a Haas in the mix. It's Astrodite. He's barking up the rear of the Alfa Romeo as well. And now Nigel once again wheel to wheel with Hyper through turn 13. Oh, this is very intense.
It's 2 by 2 for these guys. Brownie and Astrodite fighting very, very hard as well right behind them. Remco Van Poonen just trying to find any way past them. It's still 2 by 2 for these 4. Oh my goodness. Astrodite having a poor exit though out of the final corner. Van Poonen is going to make that move. He's also going to get Brownie here as Brownie deraces. They crop across the line. They are wheel to wheel now heading into turn 1. Zamus as well battling with Freeway a little bit further up the grid, but that's Remco Van Poonen now in 9th position after getting that insane move on Brownie. Brownie seems to have made a bit of a mistake. He's gone off the track and he's down to 13th now, Strif.
Yeah, this is intense racing. No one wants to give anyone an opportunity to breathe, and we were talking about it before. If you make a mistake, you're going to lose positions right now as BTFU and Fubar come wheel to wheel through turns 5 and 6. They're going to come through 7 wheel to wheel as well. Very touch and go for both of these drivers right now. BTFU has to go wide, but he's going to lead the German through down into turn 8. Meanwhile, we're going to jump back to the front of this grid.
Rackety. Rackety's right there with them as well. He's looking at the outside. But he decides to hold position for the time being, and all these guys are so close. It is absolutely incredible. And at the front of this grid now, Alex Bitto has built a 7/10 gap, so he's still not outside of that DRS range. Yoda hanging on to that one for the time being, but Zamus is now only 4 tenths, and they make that 3 tenths now between him and the McLaren. Freeware just hovering behind them, but this fight for the lower points positions is absolutely intense. Brainstew only 2 tenths in it between him and Neon Rays, and Neon Rays is very close to the back of Astrodite as well.
Yeah, this is a great battle right now. Neon Race has Brainstew coming around the outside of turn 15, and he's made the move ahead of the Racing Point, and we had an aerial view of that, and that was just a fantastic move from the Mercedes, and Brownie is going to be hunting down the Racing Point as well. And this race has just been fantastic here so far. Alex with a fantastic start to this one, leading this in the Ferrari.
Yeah, but it is the start of lap 3, so DRS has been enabled. So if you're within that 1 second of the car in front, that rear wing is going to pop over and give you a little bit extra top speed, sometimes even 15, 20 kph, but that is all you need to get alongside and go for a move. So we'll see what these drivers are able to do.
Yeah, and Yoda doesn't have it on Alex Bitto.
Yeah, he doesn't. Alex was able to pull out that 1 second gap, but meanwhile behind in this battle for the lower points positions, it is a massive DRS train. A whole bunch of cars having that rear wing open, and Swifty seems to be heading that one. Becky B only 2.5 tenths behind as they made their way through turn 10. Shenjay picking up a 3-second time penalty. Becky B is gaining, he's gaining, but he's not getting enough to make a move. Swifty holding his line through turn 11. Becky B just trying to find any avenue past. He's getting a really, really close to the back of that Red Bull.
Yeah, he's doing quite well there to hold off the Mercedes right now. It's just a massive train through this grid, and there's position exchanges all over the place. Jumping on with Brainstew. He's wheel to wheel with Aphrodite.
Mercedes.
Ooh.
Brainstew making up another position into turn 15. He's now past Aphrodite, so he's now back up into the points.
Yeah, but don't call it just yet. Aphrodite's having a look, Mick. He's coming back at him on the outside right now. We have a good shot of this right now coming down into turn 1, but it's going to be Brainstew holding well as we jump back to Nigel. He's looking at Swifty very tight. Swifty and Becky B. Oh. Becky B getting ahead of Swifty. Of course, Nigel now going to want to get in on this.
Yeah, and don't look now, but Freeware 5/10 to Zamis. He's looking for that podium.
Oh, and there's a big issue. Swifty's spun round, and Nigel's gone straight into him, and that's going to be a big issue coming outside of turn 7. Swifty's going to drop down this grid right now. He's going to try to recover, but Nigel has taken massive damage. He's dropping, and Brainstew on the inside of Van Putten down into 8-9 is going to get it done.
Wow. What a development we have seeing now in Paul Ricard. You can just see on that track map that all these guys are super, super tight. The front few starting to get away a little bit, but that's Remco Van Putten looking around the outside of turn 10. Brainstew holding that inside line. He got that move done in the chicane, but is he able to hold it? He squeezes Remco Van Putten all the way to the outside, but Brainstew was able to hold onto that position as they made their way into turn 12.
What battling we're seeing between these guys in areas where you wouldn't really see it that often. And of course, Neon Rays right now is in 10th position. He's going to be looking to hunt down Aphrodite for 9th. He's on these soft compound tires, and he's going to want to get ahead of these medium runners for the moment. He needs to get the pace out of those softs, but he's got Brownie in the Williams. He's going to be looking to take that position from him very quick here. And he's on the hard compound tires, showing a fantastic pace right now.
Yeah, Brownie doing a stellar job. Lead of the hard runners at the moment. Brainstew as well doing absolutely amazing. He's head of the medium runners. But I'm just looking at this battle between Zamis and Freeware. Freeware has closed that gap all the way to within 0.3 of a second. He has that overtake button on. And Zamis, picking up a 3-second time penalty as well, he's feeling the pressure. And just look at the extra amount of speed in that AlphaTauri, soaring past the Red Bull. So Freeware now up into the podium places.
Yeah, neatly done there from Freeware. Patient move from him. Getting it done on the straight right now. Zamis now into 4th. That's Becky B behind him.
It's Remco Van Putten. Remco Van Putten has spun it.
Swifty has as well. Swifty has as well, and he's done a 180 in turn. Oh man, he's in the middle of turn 8 and 9 right now, and he's watched the entire field drive through by him. Oh, that is going to be hard for the Red Bull to swallow, and Nigel there in 20th position. Oh, it's just been very hard for all of these drivers in that position. Meanwhile, Brownie in 10th position now, still within half a second of Neon Rays. Neon Rays not too far off Aphrodite, and that train is still in full swing behind Brainstew at the moment in 7th. And Brainstew is still hunting down a gap to, of course, Hyper ahead, holding on to P6 in the Ferrari.
Yeah, Hyper doing very, very well for himself so far. He has that DRS on the Mercedes in front of him. Again, we are seeing the Mercedes and Ferrari battle it out. Once again here at the circuit for Ricard. A little bit of a lock up there on the front left, but it doesn't seem to cost him too much. Becky B running a little bit wide there at the exit of turn 2. That's certainly going to be a warning for track limits. The Hyper, all that he can to get closer to the yellow flag in sector 1. I think that's one of the Haas's. It's Henry. He's had an issue now. He is now down into 17th place. So very, very unfortunate for him. He isn't able to see. Oh, can't get my words out. Doesn't seem to catch a break in any of these races. But Hyper using that DRS to good effect. He's closing the gap. Not quite enough to make a move just yet, but it's certainly putting Becky B under a lot of pressure at the moment.
Yeah, and talking about pressure, Neon Rays is under a lot of it right now. Brownie's really barking up that gearbox in the Williams. And I don't know if we're going to see it just yet. Well, I think we are now. He's got overtake in full swing. He wants to get it done going into 10. That's going to be Brownie smooth ahead coming through into the braking zone here. No brakes required, of course. It's a flat-out right-hander down into this gradual downshifting turn 11. And Brownie, smooth operation into 9th position for him. Aphrodite is the next driver on his list. And Aphrodite's on these medium compound tires. And already you can just see the gap coming down right now. Neon Rays on these softs, not going to be too happy getting passed by Brownie on the hards right now. He's going to have to really think about where he's at with these tires. And as we say, the entirety of the front of this grid, Mikcow, on cue, has jumped into the pit lane, and that's going to be Zamis in the Red Bull, now moving ahead, leading this race.
Yeah, Becky B and Hyper will take up the next 2 podium places for the time being, as the top 3, Bido, Yoda, and Freeware all coming into the pits. A little bit of a difference of strategy, actually. Freeware and Yoda opting for the hard combat tires, trying to make those stretch to the end. And Alex Bido has opted for the mediums. So he is now committed to that 2-stop strategy. There is absolutely no way those mediums are making it to the end. We know Bido is good on the tires, but I don't think he's that good on them.
Well, we're getting Fubar some camera time in a position where hopefully he isn't hating to see it. Of course, Rackety in P9 right now, under threat from the German, and we're coming through turn 7 here. He's going to have DRS and overtake in full swing here. I think we're going to see an overtake from Fubar on the McLaren coming down into 8-9. You see Rackety with a weave off there. How's it going to come for the Racing Point down through the turn? He's got the inside. Is Rackety going to get a good enough lunge through onto the inside? He is. Fubar going off a little wide there. Wheel to wheel right now.
Jean as well. Jean and Bido's like catching up to them at a rate of knots. Fubar and Jean going side by side into turn 10. Jean getting ahead of the Racing Point now. So
ooh, and I had to interrupt this, but there's some action at the front of the grid. Mikcow, Hyper's had an issue coming together with Brain Stew. And Brain Stew has now moved into 3rd position behind his teammate as Becky B jumps into the pit lane. I believe that is Brain Stew in lead of this race.
Alex just had an amazing double overtake at turn 11. So he's now up into 10th place, eyeing up Rackety as we speak. And he is just using those mediums to full effect at the moment. You can just see the amount of pace that he has. Going for that 2-stop, making that extra pit stop. He has to make up as much time as he can on Freeware and Yoda, as they'll be making their way through the field as well. Meanwhile, it looks like the undercut has worked to great effect. Zamis down in 13th.
Rocket has had a big issue coming through too there. Mikcow, Bido overtook him, and Fubar has also benefited from this. He went really wide coming out of the exit there, and Jean is right on this as well.
Brownie now going past Aphrodite for that P2 slot. Fubar currently in 7th place. Rackety eyeing him up. Jean as well having that DRS. No overtake, but there is overtake on the McLaren. He's looking up the inside, heading into turn 8. Let's see what he's able to do. He cuts the curb a lot, but he's able to get ahead for the time being. But Fubar, can he get a better exit? He gets some pretty good traction out of turn 9. He's using that overtake. He's looking up the inside into turn 10. It's a drag race between these two. The Racing Point, German having his nose ahead of the Brit.
Yoda's here in this party, Mikcow, and they might not know it because it's going to be Yoda coming through 11. That's going to be Rackety on the outside. He pulls back. Now Fubar is completely hung out to dry in this battle right now. That's going to be the McLaren up the inside through 12, and he's going to take that Racing Point.
It's Freeware as well. Freeware using that overtake. He's looking up the inside of turn 14. Fubar has to leave the space. And he goes super far off track. Rackety's going to capitalize on that as well. But the 2 front runners are through, and Freeware is right behind that McLaren.
Yoda, one of the favorites to win here. Alex Bido is currently ahead of him on the medium compound tires by a massive amount, I have to say, when it comes down to it. 3.5 seconds and climbing for the time being. Of course, it is a battle of medium versus hards, but now Yoda has something else to deal with here in his fight for a potential win, and that's Freeware on these hards. He's less than a second behind. Freeware, no slouch. He's shown great pace all season. He's currently up 4/10 through into Sector 2, a personal best sector for him on these hards. A lot of crazy stuff happening right now as Shenjay jumps into 4th position ahead of BTFU coming through 8-9.
Yeah, Zamis as well, trying to make some ground off the pit stop. He's gotten Jean down on this Mistral straight. He's looking to eye up Henry as well to get back into the points, but he's not able to quite make the move into the turn 8 and 9 chicane, but he's using that overtake to full effect. Henner's opting to save that. Zamis going down the inside into turn 10. Has he gotten the move done? Yes, he has. So he is now back up into the points and now has Rackety as the next target on his hit list.
Yeah, and it's not going to be long before he takes another check mark off that list, because Rackety on these 8-lap-old mediums right now, I don't know how long he's going to be able to defend here. Oh, Zamis is going for it on the inside into 14, Mikcow. That's not a place where you see it done every day, and he's going to get the move done, it would look like, but Rackety holding to the inside, and Zamis around the outside of 15. What a move.
Yeah, was that a little bit too early, though? It looks like Zamis was able to get that DRS through the detection point before turn 14. But Rackety now coming under pressure from Henna's behind as Rackety will pick up a 3-second time penalty as well. But at the front of this grid strip, Brownie is now within DRS range of Brainstew. Those mediums are going to start to be feeling a bit of wear, I do believe. 10 laps into this race, we still have a fair way to go in this race. Anything can happen, but what a great drive from some of these drivers right now.
It's been a very eventful race so far, and it's what you love to see in these virtual races is drivers fighting all up and down the grid. As we say, Jean and Fubar into 12th position ahead of Jean into 8-9. Meanwhile, there's another exchange ahead of them. That's Rackety in an exchange with Henry right now coming through 8-9, and it's just, this is where we said it at the beginning of this race. This is where you're going to see a lot of these overtaking opportunities. Now Rackety on Henry on the inside coming through into turn 10. How's it going to go? These two have a little bit of a history. Rackety missing that front left end plate right now. Coming down through turn 11, that's going to cost him a little bit of performance, and Henry looking quite good right now around the outside. How's it going to go coming down through 13? There.
He's still there. Strifium Rackety doing everything he can to get past this Haas, and it looks like he's done it. He's done it into turn 14, but I think Henry is going to have that DRS, and they have to worry about Fubar as well, who was right behind them after all this battling as well.
Yeah, this is absolutely wild, and Henry not going to be happy about being held up by a driver with no front left end plate right now. Rackety with a move to the outside. He wants to hold it there. Henry doesn't know what he's doing. He actually lifts coming through down turn 1, and Zamis unfortunately takes a 3-second time penalty coming out. I think he may have come out wide out of turn 2.
He might have. Henry got the better run through turns 1 and 2 than Rackety heading into turn 3, but he just wasn't quite close enough to make a move. Becky B getting passed through by now as well, heading through the complex of 3, 4, and 5. So he's now going to be doing everything he can to catch up to these two, but Henry has that DRS. The overtake is in full swing as well. Also keep one eye on the time tower in that battle for 7th place as well as Freeware still sticking with Yoda. But right now we have looking at this other McLaren who is under threat from the Haas. Here, this is the battle for P10. Henry now going to the outside. Gives Rackety the inside again. They both use a fair bit of their battery. Rackety holding it around the inside. He's holding on to this position well. Can Henry, second time's the charm, trying to hold it around the outside. He's a little bit further ahead than he was last time. He's gotten the move done as well. That is very, very impressive from the Haas driver there. But I'm sure Rackety is going to have none of it. And he's going to have a response very, very soon, I'm sure, Striff.
This is a fantastic battle we're witnessing here in this fight for the final points position. Now Brainstew's come into the pit lane. Big question is, where is he going to drop out on this grid? He's come out on these hard compound tires, and now Freeware is currently less than half a second away from Yoda, and we have a VSC deployed, and I'm not entirely sure where or as a result of what.
Swifty is missing the entirety of his front wing through turns 12 and 13 right now, so that has triggered the virtual safety car, so all the drivers will need to slow down and there will be no overtaking under the yellow flag conditions.
Well, this has really worked out for Brainstew. Really worked out for Brainstew because he's come out ahead of Henry here in 9th position on fresh hard compound tires. VSC conditions, everybody behind him in the pit lane had to slow things down.
Yeah, so Brainstew using that VSC to full effect. Able to get a bit of a cheap pit stop. Custom will pick up a 3-second time penalty as well under the VSC conditions. And we are green flag running once again. And Alex Biddo is right behind BTFU. The next target for the Spaniard is within his grasp now. Making their way through turn 12. BTFU missing the apex there by a fair mile. Alex Biddo has that overtake mode on. BTFU right in the middle of the track. Trying to make those hards last as long as they can. Alex Biddo has so much more speed though, so much more pace, so much more everything, grip, traction, you name it, he's got it. And he's now in the podium places once again.
Yeah, Yoda now into 5th position as well, and he'll be looking to catch up with BTFU as quick as he can. 6.1 seconds though the gap to BTFU for the McLaren, and that's just, well, 6.1 seconds now for Alex Bitto ahead of Yoda, and that's just a huge gap for Yoda to try and tear it down. These mediums doing a real good job for the Ferrari.
Yeah, but Alex Bitto will need to go into the pits again, and the delta for a pit stop is about 24, maybe even 25 seconds, if memory serves me right. So Alex Bitto still has it all to do. Committee on that 2-stop, and Zamis also on the 2-stop as well. So quite a few things happening now. We have a bit of action in the pit lane. Looks like Becky B opting the pit for some fresh mediums. Rackety onto from some fresh hards, and Aphrodite as well coming out in 10th place for the Haas squad. So both Haases currently in the points, which I'm sure Gunther Steiner will be very, very pleased about.
Yeah, of course. For Tier 2 and Tier 1 in the Misfits Racing League, we have a combined constructors element, so it's very common that the drivers from the other tier are watching the Tier 1 race because both of the teams in each division want each other to perform well for that combined constructors element, which is a lot of fun to see, the cooperation there. Of course, right now, it's just a fantastic race we're seeing unfold. Hyper right now on these hards, he's quite close to his rival Fubar. Shenjay jumps into the pit lane.
He's going to get off those hards, put on a fresh set of medium compound tires to the end of this race. We have just crossed the halfway point in this race. Brownie currently a race leader with Alex Bitto, BTFU, and Yoda rounding off the top 4. I do believe that was Brainstew setting a new fastest lap of the race, so he is flying on those fresh hards at the moment. And the driver that seems to have lost a fair bit of pace throughout this race is Zamis. I'm not quite sure. He's not really catching Freeware at a rate of knots on those mediums. Freeware is being aided by the DRS by Yoda, but even still, those mediums should have a fair bit more grip than those hards at this stage.
Yeah, Astrodate and Henry now, the 2 Haas drivers. Wheel to wheel coming out of turn 7. Astrodate.
You know what happens? You know what happens when the 2 Haas drivers get into combat? But Astrodite is cleanly ahead. Neon Rays now looking to get in on a piece of that pie. But yeah, quite a few pockets, I'll say, on this track map at the moment. Freeware still doing very well to stay with Yoda ahead of him. We have a battle brewing between Brainstew and Zamis as well. 7/10's currently that gap. We have 2 Haases and Neon Rays. And Hyper on Fubar, as you're saying. Hyper looking up the inside. Is he later on the brakes? Yes, he is, but not late enough. Fubar holding it around the outside through turn 8. But looks like Hyper will get the better exit through turn 9. And using that overtake, he's down to 3% battery strift. And Fubar using that overtake, and it's Jan as well on the outside, getting past Hyper into turn 10. He's looking at the inside of Fubar as well.
What a
Fubar
move.
has to leave in the space. Jan, it's not over yet. Strift Fubar running very, very wide. Hyper getting a little bit of wheel spin there as well. This is the battle for 15th, ladies and gentlemen. No points on offer, but bragging rights certainly are on the table for these drivers. Fubar holding it station now in 15th. Hyper trying to get his way back past that Alfa Romeo. Looking around the outside of the final corner, Rackety and Becky B, 2 drivers with a lot of pace, trying to get a piece of that pie as well. Jean and Hyper both have that DRS, but very, very low on the battery for both of them. As Fubar is going very, very slowly through that turn 1. Jean has to slam on the brakes. He loses the rear slightly. That's going to open the door for Hyper.
Wow.
Hyper makes his way through. Rackety trying to find a way down the inside as well. But there's no gap there. And it looks like Nigel has had an issue as well at turn 7 in the other Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we're going to jump up to Freeware because he's very tight to the rear of Yoda right now. Brainstew in this as well. He's going to be getting quite close on his fresher hard compound tires. Meanwhile, Henners has an exchange with Shenjay up through the inside as Shenjay through turn 11, and he's quite quick through there. So much exchanging happening on circuit right now. Zamis quite close to the rear of Brainstew coming out of turn 15. It looks like Brainstew's having a bit of a connection issue according to what we're seeing on Zamis's end of things. And as Brownie, BTFU, and Henners all come into the pit lane, it's going to be Brownie and BTFU onto the medium compound tires. Brainstew's into 4th position. Alex Bitto, your race leader right now, and he's on these medium compound tires. Yoda in that McLaren on the hards in 2nd with Freeware very tight to him, not giving Yoda really much opportunity to make any mistakes here. Freeware wants to get this race win just as bad.
Braidster is doing very well for himself. He's currently just behind Freeware, so he's looking very well on those hards at the moment. We have a couple of drivers now into the pits again as well. Chenjay making his way through the field of vast rate of knots. He's now got Astroditers in sight as they come down towards turn 8. So what he's able to do, not quite able to make a pass just yet, but he's going out wide, trying to get the best exit he possibly can out of turn 9, using that overtake, using the slipstream. And it looks like this will be quite an easy move for the AlphaTauri. He opts to go around the outside, leaving Astrodite the room on the inside. They're still wheel to wheel heading through turn 10. Into turn 11 they go. And Chenjay, much later on the brakes, is able to get that move to stick.
Chenjay, of course, keep in mind, started this race at the back of this grid. He's moved up into 7th position now. He's up 12 positions. Brainstew is up 16 positions. He started this race in 20th. So these guys are doing a real good job of getting themselves into the front, and it just shows that pace can get it done around the virtual space. Yeah,
not as much dirty air, not as much wake that the drivers have to deal with in the virtual space compared to the real life. But that is Neon Rays now in the pits. He is not happy with those medium compound tires. He's going to be going on to a fresh set of mediums. So he'll be running to the end of the race, those last 10 laps or so. Freeware and Brainstew both within DRS range of one another. Yoda heading that train still. Freeware using that overtake mode as well. Are we going to see a move here coming out from the German? Yoda goes semi-defensive, leaving Freeware very little room. Try and make a move around the outside, but Yoda with a very nice defense once again. Let's see if Freeware has a response to it. He has that overtake mode on just a little bit. Yoda very low on that battery as well as they make their way into turn number 10. Freeware looking up the inside into turn 11. Yoda very late on the brakes. He's able to hold off that AlphaTauri for the time being. Brainstew having a little bit of an issue on his hard compound tires. He's falling back a tiny bit, and that is Zamis as well, trying to make his way closer to them. And that's Rackety all the way down in 18th, having a little bit of issue at turn 7 as well.
Hyper's just been mugged for 2 positions. John and Becky B having a battle and just using that Ferrari for cover here. As they come out of turn 9, Mikcow, it's still a battle for these back positions. No points on display, but as you said, bragging rights. Becky B in the Mercedes right now, wheel to wheel with Hyper. Coming down through on the inside through 10. Still wheel to wheel. That's Hyper on the rear of the Mercedes, though, coming through down into 11. And Becky B, what a move from him. But it was Jean that I think went out on that exchange. Hyper got dropped 2 positions coming out now. He's in 16th.
Now back up with the front runners of this grid. As I say, sorry, there's a spin. That's Hyper. He is spun at turn 12, so he'll be dropping down the order. He gets a 3-second time penalty to boot as well. But Freeware and Brainstew still very close to one another, and Brownie has so much more speed than Zamis right behind them. Brownie soars past that Red Bull. And the Williams now is up into P5, and he gets it done just in time, as there is now a virtual safety car, as Hyper seems to have had an issue entering the pit lane.
Very unfortunate for the Ferrari. He's now out of this race, and the Scuderia have 1 leg left in this race. I guess you could say it's Alex Bitto leading it. So something to be happy about for the Scuderia regardless. And no full safety car as a result of any of that. So it's a VSC. Drivers just have to slow things down. Nobody has jumped into the pit lane with the exception of and as I say it, Mikcow, that's Alex Bitto. He's going to come in here. He's jumping off of these mediums. And the big question is, what tires is he going to get on here? It's going to be a set of softs.
He's going to run a set of softs to the end of this race, but the VSC has been lifted. So Yoda now will retake control of this race. Freeway into 2nd, Brainstew into 3rd, Brownie into 4th as well, whereas Alex Bitter going to pop out. Zamis also coming to the pits as well, so it looks like Alex Bitter will be behind Astrodite maybe. It's going to be very close between those two on the pit exit, but yes, Astrodite is ahead of that Ferrari.
Oh
no,
no,
not expecting the grip.
He's taking a 3-second time penalty coming out of turns 1 and 2, Mikcow, and now Astrodite is in a very good position to hold him up a little bit on his campaign for the race win. And who is that in the lead of this race? Once again, it's Yoda. So he's going to be quite happy about this, and Brainstew is going to be happy about it even more because he's on these much fresher rubber hard compound tires versus freeware, and Yoda ahead. We've got 8-9 laps of running here in this race left, and he's in a prime position to strike as Astrodite and Alex Bido now. Alex Bido dispatches the Haas. He's on these softs. He's got a good amount of pace. We'll have to see what he can do. Right now he has 2 seconds to get to Shenjay, but Shenjay, he's nearly 7 seconds away from the drivers in the top 4.
Yeah, it's not been the greatest strategy call from the Scuderia, but there is still 8 laps left in this race, so anything can and probably will happen. But currently it is Brainstew and Brownie, both 3/10 within 3/10 of freeware, sorry.
Remco Van Putten on the inside of Zamis coming through turn 11 right now. They're wheel-to-wheel coming through the exit. Zamis holding station for now in 9th, but he knows the Dutchman is there now.
Yeah, Remco Van Putten running out of battery, it seems, already. Currently 5/10 behind the Red Bull. I'm just keeping my eyes solely focused on this battle for 2nd place at the moment. Freeware just outside of that DRS range. That could be crucial in his defense for 2nd place. Brownie and Brainstew. Brownie's gotten an amazing exit out of turn 7, Striff. Look at this. He's soaring past Brainstew. It doesn't matter that the Mercedes has DRS. That's the Williams soaring past that black Mercedes there. Brownie now back into the podium places once again. And he has a lot of battery. He has that overtake mode. He's going to get freeware as well. Just look at the speed coming out from that Williams. And he is all the way up into P2 now. And 8/10 is the gap to Yoda. And Yoda now certainly has his hands full now. He has another raging German, except this time he's on fresh medium compound tires. And it is the driver known as Brownie. Very, very fast indeed.
Yeah, he is in a prime position for a win now. He's on these medium compound tires there. Clearly the quicker tire as Rackety sets the fastest lap on the softs at 131.2. But Yoda has a big problem. He's on these 13 lap old hards. He can't do much about them now. He's got to go to the end here. He's going to risk a lot having to stay on these tires, but Brownie on these mediums is just flying, and there's going to be very little this Albanian can do about it. Alex Bido now on the softs, so 130.7, and he is going to get ahead of Shenjay down through into turn 1.
Hennes has gone off at the exit of turn 11. So that's now 2 drivers out of this race, and we have another virtual safety car. So it looks like no full safety car as of yet.
If somebody can tell me how many races Hennes has finished this season, please let me know in the chat. That is very unfortunate to see for the Haas. Indeed.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate, but it will give Yoda a little bit of a chance to breathe, because that Williams will catch him at a fast rate of knots. But the VSC has been lifted. We are back green flag running once again, ladies and gentlemen, and that is Alex Bido and Shenjay going wheel to wheel into turns 8 and 9, but Alex Bido on those fresher soft compound tires is having none of it. And he has now gone back past the AlphaTauri. And jumping back up to the front of the grid.
6.5 seconds.
Yes, 6
he's
seconds.
on these softs. What do you think, Mick? What do you think? Give me your honest opinion.
It's a tough ask, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Alex Bido. He's going to have to go full on Lewis Hamilton mode and just do quali lap after quali lap after quali lap. So he certainly has it in him, and the tires will give him quite a bit of grip for the next few laps at least. But it is a tough ask. But depending on how much these 4 in front battle, it might be a little bit easier for the Spaniard to catch up, as they are very, very close, all within that half-second gap of one another. And this fight is certainly going to be spicing up in the next lap or so, maybe even this next DRS zone, Striff.
I think we're going to see it going into 8-9, Mick. I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think we're going to come out of 5-6 right here. You can see the McLaren coming through. It's going to be turn 7 up next, and overtake's already in full swing for this Williams. He is having an absolute charge out of turn 7. DRS wide open. Very, very neatly done
from the Williams, and he is gone. He has gone into the lead of this race and has 65% battery left as well. So he is in a very, very nice position. Yoda will do his best to stay within the DRS range, but looks like Freeway has had a bit of an issue as well. He's fallen out of the DRS range of Yoda, and now he has Brainstew for company still as well. Brainstew having that overtake mode on. Freeway goes defensive into turn 11. Brainstew looking around the outside. Can he get the switch back? At the exit of turn 11, it doesn't quite look like it. So, but Freeway going defensive once again, compromising his line. Brainstew just trying to find any avenue past this AlphaTauri to get himself onto the podium places. We haven't talked about the penalties too much yet because all of this action on track is just too exciting to watch.
It's been fantastic. We haven't had a lot of chance to breathe here. There's been overtaking. There hasn't been really anything major as far as the safety cars in this race. We've had a lot of VSCs, of course. Brownie leading this race. He's pulling out a significant gap on Yoda, and Yoda has a good gap right now to Freeware, 1.5 seconds. They're on the same tires, but right now it's Brainstew. All about Brainstew in this fight, in this Mercedes. He's got the AlphaTauri, ahead of him coming through turn 5 right now. And depending on what kind of run he gets coming out of turn 7, Mikcow, I think we're going to see the overtake happen into 8-9 here.
Yeah, he gets a pretty good exit. He has that overtake mode on. He has the DRS as well, the slipstream, just the overspeed from that Mercedes. He is now cleanly past the AlphaTauri. So Freeway now down into 4th place. Brainstew up into 3rd. And Yoda clinging on for dear life onto that DRS like a life raft at the moment. He's just fallen outside of it. So Brownie is in a very, very strong position. And while we're saying all that, Alex Bitto, that gap is now just under 4 seconds. It's closing, but is it closing enough? I'm not entirely sure. He might catch them by the end of this race, but I think that's about it at this point.
Well, he's catching at a rapid rate, but he's got another problem here. It's not about the tires, and it's not about making up the gap before the tires expire, because he's got Shenjie in that AlphaTauri, Mikcow, on these medium compound tires right behind him within a second, and he's going to have that pressure coming down through as he looks to press on to catch the rest of this front grid. 3.6 now to Freeware. Freeware's dropping, and Brainstew is on much fresher rubber by 5 laps, so it's going to be a big ask, but I think he might be able to secure P4, maybe really close P3.
Yeah, there are quite a few battles happening across the grid at this time as well, outside of the top 6. In fact, it's the battle for 7th at the moment, as BTFU is within a half a second of Astrodite in that Haas. BTFU driving for the Renault squad, trying to impress the French folks at their home race. BTFU, let's see if he's able to make a move past with the assistance of the DRS system. He's gaining. Astrodite pulls over to the left, trying to defend as much as he can, but BTFU cleanly passed into
not much of a defense from Astrodite there, I have to confess. He opened the door. He wanted to see if BTFU would call him, and BTFU just said, I'm not going to follow you. I'm just going to clean straight through on the outside here. And who knows, maybe it was Astrodite just saying there's no way I can defend this. It's a completely different dynamic, but right now Yoda has a problem. Brainstew's caught up with him quite close, and he's going to have DRS coming out of turn 15 here as we jump into lap 25. That's Brownie just ahead in the Williams, leading this race.
Yes, Brainstew has caught up. He's using the DRS to full effect. He closes it fairly early. He realizes he's not going to be quite close enough to make a move just yet, so he's just saving that. The yellow flag is set through, not quite sure what that's for, but that seems to have cleared. Yoda can see from that flashing red light at the back of that McLaren, very low on battery. That's what that means. So he is certainly struggling for that electrical charge, and he will be down on power on this next straight. We saw Brainstew get some really nice exits out of turns 6 and 7. He's gotten another one, the DRS. The overtake is in full swing as well. Let's see if he is able to get enough overspin. It looks like he is. Yoda now down into 3rd place after such a dominant performance at the beginning part of this race. He is now down into 3rd. Brainstew, all the way from 20th on the grid, is now in 2nd.
Alex Bitto, meanwhile, not pissing around as the Ferrari 1.6 the gap now to Freeware ahead, but he's still got Shenjie barking up his gearbox in P6, and he's on those medium compound tires, and right now those tires, I'd say, they're getting pretty close to equal in pace, because Shenjie, last time we checked in, was 0.6. Now we're here coming out into turn 10 through 11. It's half of that. So we'll just have to see what Alex is able to do. But meanwhile, he's still chunking down that gap to Freeware ahead. And if he's able to get it done coming down into turn 1 and 2, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, Yoda is now fallen just outside of the DRS range. He was in that DRS range at the detection point. But Yoda hanging on for dear life once again to this DRS. Brainstew stretching the legs a little bit, trying to see if he can make any inroads on Brownie in case of any penalties. Meanwhile, behind them, Alex Bitter is now within DRS range of Freeware. Freeware seems to really be struggling on those hards at the latter stages of this race, and his teammate, Shenjie, has clawed his way back up through the field.
This is a crucial moment.
That DRS road with Alex Bitter. See what he's able to do. Alex Bitter now under threat from Shenjie. Shenjie using that overtake mode as well at the time being. They're both on 3%, Strifium, both with the 3%. The DRS, is it going to be enough? Alex Bitter goes defensive. Shenjie trying to get a better exit out of turn 9. Alex Bitter has a little bit of a slip of the rear. That might be the opening that Shenjie needs. He's using all the overtake available. Alex Bitter trying to squeeze Shenjie a little bit more to the inside. Shenjie now up the inside into turn 10. They're still side by side, so they make their way into turn 11. And Shenjie having that inside line much later on the brakes, as he's now up into 5th place, just behind his teammates. As Brownie is about to start the final lap of this race, we have an amazing battle brewing for 4th place at the moment between Shenjie, Alex Bitter, and Freeware.
The big thing here is it was such a gamble from Alex. It was such a gamble from Alex on these softs to go the distance, and now it's Shenjie on these medium compound tires, just a little bit ahead of him. He doesn't have a lot of energy in reserve here. He's utilizing as much of that battery as he can. Shenjie looks at Freeware coming down into turn 1, but he's not even remotely close enough to make a move. Meanwhile, let's look down the field a little bit. Just on the tower here, Remco Van Putten, he's come out of the pit lane on some softs. Now there's another exchange with Shenjie getting clear ahead of Freeware. It looks like some team orders coming into play there. Freeware on these older hards, he's going to have to hold up Alex, because penalties, like you said, could play such a big role come the finish of this race. It's going to be Alex with a decent exit here. Freeware with the DRS on his teammate, going to be able to hold off for now, it would seem. But we're on the final lap of this race, and it's just been, what a wild ride it's been. Brownie right now leading things coming down into turn 10. Remco Van Putten sets the fastest lap of this race in P12, a 129.587. And Brownie with a stellar performance here in this one. He started this race in 11th position. He's made it into the lead. He's running in the lead, and he is looking to take the win in the Williams coming through Sector 3.
He just sees Rackety in the McLaren ahead of him. What a stellar drive, starting on those hard combat tires. Was able to stay out of trouble and just run his own race, and it certainly has paid out for him. He makes his way through the final corner now. It'll be Brownie, the German, in that Williams racing seat to come across the line to take the win here in France. Brainstew running out of fuel, actually, as he comes across the line. That's cost him P2. Yoda up into P2. Now Brainstew will take the 3rd place on the podium. Freeware coming across the line in 4th. Shenjie, his teammate, in 5th place, redeeming themselves after the horrible Canadian Grand Prix last week. Alex Bitter, the gamble not quite paying off for him. He's now in 6th place for the Scuderia. 7th place goes to BTFU in the Renault. Aphrodite in 8th. Damas in 9th. And Neon Rays will come across the line in 10th place to take the final points place. Actually, he'll jump Zamis on penalties. So Zamis will get 10th. Neon Rays up into 9th for the Racing Point. And what a great effort from those guys. Becky B across the line in P11. Remco Van Putten across the line in 12th. Jean in 13th. Fubar will come across 14th. Custom in 15th. Swifty 16th. Nigel and Rackety will be 17th and 18th as well.
Wow. Just a fantastic race overall. Just fantastic.
Oh, Custom. Custom will jump Fubar on the basis of penalties, but Swifty will not. And yeah, it's been a crazy race. Nigel will take the fastest lap, the 129.1. So quite a quick lap time. course, no points for it. Only a point for fastest lap if you are within the top 10. And Rackety coming across the line in the other McLaren in 18th place as the last finisher. And that was quite a drive. Brainstew there, driver of the day. And I can't really disagree with that one. He drove phenomenally. Brownie as well, having a great drive as well. There he is, Michael Schumacher on the top step for the Williams boys. And what a race, Striff. What an absolute thriller. Tier 1 never disappoints.
Absolutely never disappoints. Brownie with the race win in the Williams from 11th to 1st. You love to see it. The Albanian Yoda, who really wanted the race win here. He started on pole position with a fantastic lap. He comes second quickest around this race. Of course, Brainstew in 3rd from 20th. The Mercedes team is going to be absolutely ecstatic with that performance. Freeware started in 4th. He finishes in 4th, and that's his teammate Shenjay from 19th to 5th. Rounding out your top 5 racers here.
What a drive from all these drivers. I've had a few incidents, but it was very, very clean, very, very hard-fought racing, which is exactly what we love to see. So many instances of drivers going side by side through the fast right-handers of turns 10 and 11. That takes some real bravery and some real skill from both of those drivers going side by side through there to avoid contact on most of the occasions.
Definitely. That was a super fun race to watch. Just so much overtaking. I can't wait to jump in and get the highlights done for that. Of course, guys, if you're looking to watch that race in its entirety or catch any of the Misfits Racing League highlights, you can find all of that stuff on our YouTube channel from all the way back to the beginning of Season 2 Abu Dhabi. So it's there's a lot there if you're looking to catch up on some racing. Learn about a few of the drivers and how they race and their finishes. It's just a lot of fun. So, of course, jump into that Discord community if you're looking for a home to find some people to race with. Wow. Of course, we are going to be rating a member of the community. Mikcow, do you have anything to let our viewers know? Of course, we have Club Division tomorrow.
Yes, be sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. BST for the final round this week here at Le Castellet. It is, of course, MRL Club. And be sure to tune in on Saturday for the next round in the Endurance Series this week around at the Sochi Autodrome in Russia. So that should definitely be a fun one to watch. A very, very long race, but it should be an entertaining one at that.
Definitely. Okay, well, with all of that, we are going to be leaving you and jumping on over to rate a member of the community, a member you may recognize from this race, Mr. Brownie, the race winner. We're going to go and raid Brownie, so please head on over there, wish him a congratulations, because it was a fantastic drive from him, and we hope to see you guys tomorrow for MRL Club Division. Of course, this Saturday, we also have the Endurance Series, the 100% distance. It's going to be the Russian Grand Prix following along with the race weekend for Formula 1. We hope to see you then. That's happening at, of course, 5 p.m. CDT, 11 p.m. BST. Again, this Saturday. More information on that in the Discord.